everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Meredith Phillips and it is time to start draft 2. I am so excited to get back into this project, but if you have forgotten or you're new around here, let me catch you up just real quick. My debut novel, A Rogue's Guide to Winning a Wife, comes out next spring. And I am currently working on book 2 in that series and book 2 in my contract. I was able to finish a first draft of book 2 last week. And I said at the end of the last vlog that I was going to start my reread of draft 1 on May 16th. And it is currently May 14th. And I decided I'm just going to start now. I really want to get back into this. It's been a week. I waited a week and I'm ready to get going. I'm just ready to get going. And so why torture myself waiting 2 extra days? I'm just going to get going. I did have a nice little week away from the project. I think when you finish a big draft, it's nice to just set it aside, let it breathe on its own for a while. Put your mind on some other things. I definitely had plenty to keep me occupied. I have 2 other projects that I am kind of bouncing between and sort of working on whichever one is most appealing at the moment. I'm in the middle of a revision on one project and I'm in the middle of brainstorming for a second project. These are projects I'm hoping I can pitch next year to my publisher for my option. Hopefully they'll buy one, but I have to have, a project kind of ready to be pitched. So that's what I'm working on with those. I'm not really talking about them all that much just because I don't think you're supposed to. I don't know what the rules are, but anyway, it was nice to just kind of work on those at my leisure last week. And I also have to say, you guys, my inbox the last maybe like 2 weeks has been on fire in like the best way possible. There are things happening and things that I'll get to share with you hopefully sooner rather than later. Maybe within the next like month or so. We'll see. That's just an educated guess. I haven't been told anything official. I'm just guessing. But yeah, things are happening and it's very exciting. So I'm really excited to get to share more about all of those fun things with you very soon. But for now, we're going to be focused on working on book 2. I can't tell you the title. I can't tell you the characters it's focused on. It is book 2 in the series though, so it includes characters from book 1. And I successfully finished a first draft last Wednesday, the 6th. It ended up at 80,000 words, which for me is an extremely long first draft. And I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous to get back to it and see what in the world I did for 80,000 words. So I've done plenty of projects in the past, revisions of projects. And so my process is to take the first draft and just read through the whole thing. That's step 1. I don't take notes. I'm not like reading a page and then sitting and thinking, contemplating what needs to change or what I thought. No, I'm just reading the whole thing. And I try to read the book as fast as I can, not skimming. I'm not like speed reading, but I'm just like moving through it, I'm not going to read like a chapter a day for like a whole month or something like that. I want to read through it quickly so I can get like a general sense of the whole thing, an overall picture. What do I think on a large scale of the project? What kind of work do I think needs to be done? That's step 1, is just that reread to get a sense of the whole thing. After that, I'll then jot down some notes. What are my overall thoughts? What do I think worked? What do I think did not work? What needs to be fixed? All that kind of stuff. And then I go in, step 3 is going in chapter by chapter and kind of making notes on a chapter level. What needs to change specifically in this chapter? How am I going to address the overall issues that I'm noticing? So that's the process we're starting. And in the past, for me, this has been the most difficult step of the entire process. First drafting for me is easy. I know some people find that step really difficult. I find it pretty simple. I'm just writing it. I don't really care a whole lot about making it sound great. So I get that done pretty quickly. Brainstorming and outlining can be tricky. I don't love that stage necessarily, but it's okay. Later revision stages, I'm like, I can handle that. It's this first major developmental revision that is difficult. I think in the past, it's typically taken me 3 or 4 months to get through a full second draft of a book. But this is the second book in my contract. And I need to have a polished version of the book. Not totally polished, but like it needs to be pretty decent by October 1st, because that's when my editor would like to read it. And I've worked out a little schedule for myself. I'll put a little picture up here so you can read it. And basically, if you're working backwards, October 1st sounds like it's so far away. It sounds so far in the future. That is a totally different season. We're just now getting into summer. That'll be like, you know, you're kind of like mid-fall at that point. October is like 4.5 months from now. October 1st is 4.5 months away. Okay? That is not a lot of time. And I need to have more than just draft 2 done by then. So my plan for this draft is to have it finished by July 19th. That is just about 2 months from now. And that, like I said, I mean, previously this step has taken me like 3 or 4 months, and I need to do it in 2. I need to have time for my critique partner to look at the book. I need to have time to implement her feedback. I want to have time for a final little polishing pass before I send it to my editor. And there's just not time for more, honestly. So this next 2 months I feel like is going to be intense with just the volume of work that I have to do. That's what we're aiming for. I'm going to get it done. It's going to be maybe a pain in the butt, but I'm going to get it done. Yeah, I'm really eager to get back into this to see what I think. The one advantage I will say that I have had in this scenario is that my editor did look at my very detailed outline before I started first drafting. And so I had some feedback already from her on like a few points, developmental points, that I was able to incorporate before I started drafting. So I'm hoping when I reread this project, I will see, you know, there'll definitely be issues for sure, but I'm hoping that the general plot, the overall story is like fairly solid. I'm really hoping I don't get in there and discover like, oh my gosh, like this whole section does not work, or I'm going to have to delete these 5 chapters and rewrite something completely different, you know? So I just like, I'm really hoping that it's relatively in place in terms of the plot points. I'm sure there'll be some amount of rewriting or new scenes, or, you know, delete something and write something new. I'm sure there'll be some of that, but I'm hoping overall it's pretty well done. We'll find out. When I finished the first draft, my overall impressions were that it just felt very clunky. And I mean, it's a first draft. It's going to feel clunky. It felt clunky. It didn't feel like it was flowing quite the way I wanted it to. I feel like a lot of the things I'm going to find are going to be like character arc issues and making sure that certain things are set up properly. There's a dang mosquito in here and I can't freaking get it. Oh, I hate these stupid things. And then of course there's also going to be like line level stuff that's a mess. I'm not super focused on the line level stuff at this point. We'll fix up line level things probably more in like draft 3 territory. I'll certainly, you know, fiddle with it a little bit, but I'm not going to be overly concerned with like how many that's am I using, or, you know, I don't know, just like little nitpicky things like that. I'm not going to worry about that on this pass. This pass is meant to make sure that the story beats are in place properly and that everything is tied together, everything is set up properly, the character arcs flow the right way, we have a good amount of character interiority, all that kind of stuff. So this is going to definitely add to the word count, which I'm nervous about too, because the word count is already at 80,000 words, that's pretty, like, some final books, like the final product is 80,000 words. Historical romance typically is between, very generally, I would say is between 80,000 and maybe 100,000. 100,000 is getting pretty high up there. I can't go over 100. I haven't been told any sort of specific word count, but Rogue's Guide ended up right about 96,000 words. And I really don't think that this one should or could be longer than that. And in the past, when I've taken a first draft to a second draft, I've added like 25,000 words. I can't be adding that much stuff this time around. That said, I have, I hope, grown as a writer in the last several years. And so I'm hoping that maybe this first draft includes a little more interiority, a little more thoughtfulness than previous first drafts. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it sounds like when I reread it. I'm nervous about the word count already. I know that's like the theme here. Word count is important. You got to be within the standard range unless you're super special, and I'm not anybody super special yet. So I need to make sure it's not going, totally overboard. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to be working on today and tomorrow. I'm hoping I can finish a reread by tomorrow, frankly. And then we'll have the weekend to really dive into, okay, what needs to be fixed here. That's the plan. I have already put it on my Kindle, so I can read it on here. I don't have any of the fancy ones where you can mark stuff. It's just the plain document. It's nothing fancy. And I'm just going to reread it from top to bottom. I'm not taking any notes, but I like reading it in this format or something away from the computer. Like if it's on the computer, it's way too easy to be like, let me just fix this. No, I don't want to do that. I just want to read it. So it's already on this. I'll get going on this a little later and I'll let you know what I think when I'm done. All right, so a little update for you. I am enjoying it a lot. There's definitely a lot of like underlying threads that need to be better connected, I think. The plot is moving along pretty okay. There's a few spots where I feel like the motivation could be better explained, why characters are doing certain things, saying certain things, acting certain ways. I feel like that needs to be hammered down a little bit better. There's definitely some little like plot threads where I mentioned things and then so far at least we haven't gotten back to it. One thing I will say that I didn't really think about this while I was brainstorming or outlining or anything, and I'm really glad that it sort of worked out this way, is the fact that this is the second book in a series. So you're seeing a lot of the same characters. We do have some new characters involved, but it's like the core group of characters is the same. It's that group of guys, right? Our little guy friends. But the whole like setting, and I feel like the whole tone of the book, not tone, that's the wrong word. The whole setting for the book is very different. Book 1, Rogue's Guide, we're in London the whole time. We don't travel anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're going to ballrooms. We're going to the opera. We're going around town. There's things just in the townhouse. Like it's contained all within London, and that's totally fine. You certainly don't have to go anywhere fancy for a book, but it's all within that one space, right? And I could have had book 2, the plot could have ended up in a way where it also took place in London. And I'm so glad that my brain took it somewhere else, because I feel like that makes this feels fresh. It feels new and different than book 1, even though the characters are often like, we've seen them before, we know them already. So I like that this is taking place somewhere else. It does start in London, but we kind of get out of London pretty fast, and the places that they go to within London are different than what we saw in book 1 for the most part. There's maybe a little teeny bit of crossover in a scene or two, but otherwise it feels very different. Then of course we have the whole house party sequence, which is, out in the countryside, and then they're going other places that are not London either. It's more country estate kind of places, right? So I like that a lot. I like that it feels different. And thinking ahead to the other 2 books that I would love to write in this series if I get the opportunity. Book 3 would also take place at like a country estate, but the mood and tone in that book I think is going to be really different I feel like it's going to be heavier in a way, which will set it apart. And then book 4, I have just is like a total romp, honestly. It would start in London and then kind of go off the rails. But those 2 books are just like brainstorm kind of situation at the moment. I don't have, I don't get to pitch anything to my publisher until next year. So those are just, I'd love to write them. I don't know if we'll get to. Having that setting be different, I think will help just make it feel like a new book, even though it's still part of a series, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm enjoying that aspect of it. The writing is definitely like first draft level writing, but I've had this happen before too. It's not the worst thing I've ever read. So that's good. I feel like that's happened to me on several occasions with recent-ish first drafts, where the process of writing the first draft, it feels really clunky. It doesn't feel like it's working. It's very like uncomfy in a way. But then once I'm at this stage where I'm done with the first draft and I'm rereading it, I'm like, okay, this isn't terrible. I don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to throw it into the ocean and start all over. Like, I don't feel like that about it at all. Again, it does need work, of course, but it's not a complete dumpster fire. So if you're in the middle of a first draft and it feels uncomfortable, it feels icky, doesn't feel like it's coming out very smoothly, just finish, just keep going, push through that discomfort and just finish it, because you might find, maybe not, but you might find that actually it's not too horrible. Those are my thoughts at the moment. I do really like the characters. That's the other thing I was going to say is the 2 leads in this second book are very different than the 2 leads in book 1. So I like that we're getting very different a very different dynamic between the 2 love interest characters. And I think that, again, helps make it its own story. And it doesn't feel like we're doing the same kinds of things as we did in the first book. So anyway, yay, I'm enjoying it so far. And I'm going to keep reading. Hello, good morning. So I stayed up last night and I finished my book. I finished rereading it. I really like it. There was one part I was like, which is so stupid. Like, you feel kind of dumb. You're like, you wrote this. Like, you knew this was coming. Why are you so giddy about it? I don't know. But it really worked well. And there was another part I was literally like laughing out loud. Because it was funny, I thought. I thought it turned out good. So anyway, there's a couple parts toward the end, like in Act 4, that just really came out well. I like how it ended up. There's one really like sweet moment between 2 of the guy friends, which I really liked. And yeah, I really like it. So all of my I don't know. I told you. Sometimes while you're writing the draft, you're like, oh, this is awful, and then you reread it and it's like, okay, like it needs some help, but it's not like a drowned rat, So I'm feeling good. It definitely has some pitfalls and issues with it. So what I started this morning is just like a bullet point list of my overall thoughts. What did I think? Things that I liked, things that I thought were done good or I enjoyed, and then things that I think need to be improved. Overall, I think the plot is pretty solid. There's definitely, I think I said this yesterday, but there's definitely issues where it's like character motivations or like just sort of their thought process of why they're doing certain things needs to be laid out a little more clearly. There's some smaller like subplot threads that need to be either set up better or concluded. They're just sort of left floating about and we don't really want to do that. So yeah, definitely things to work on, but I am feeling good in terms of like, I don't feel like there's, a whole scene missing, or I don't feel like I'm going to have to cut, this whole 15 chapter section and rewrite it from scratch. Like, I don't feel like that's what I'm having to do here, which is really good. So the idea of having this done by mid-July is sounding more and more reasonable. That sounds like I could do it. what I'm gonna do, or at least start doing today, I'm gonna keep going through this bullet point list because I haven't finished that yet. And then what I'll do is I'll go into every single chapter and kind of, I'm not gonna like reread every single chapter, but I'll kind of skim through it and then make some notes on the side about what exactly needs to be fixed within that one chapter. And I'll also be referencing the overall bullet points to see like, oh, here's a spot where I can include this thing to address this issue or whatever. I also need to share with you a writing hack. So I think we're probably all familiar at this point with the Comic Sans writing hack, which is where you write in the font Comic Sans and it's either a placebo effect or it does something to your brain, I don't know, but it just sort of like you just write with it. I don't know, it helps you get into a flow. Have you ever done it where you're like, if you're struggling through something, just put on Comic Sans and magically it fixes everything. It's not really magic. I don't know what it does, but I've done it a couple times and it does seem to like kind of get things going. I don't know what the brain thing is there. I found a way to like level up. If you're like, Comic Sans isn't doing it for me, it's not enough, I need more power. Here's what you do. I have created a 1 hour loop of the theme from The Price is Right, the game show, The Price is Right game show, which I'm sure we all watched growing up. You put on Comic Sans and then you put on The Price is Right theme show looped. You're going to go to another writing plane of existence. I don't know what is up with that theme song, and I don't know why I thought of it the other week, but I'm like obsessed with that theme song right now. It's so good. Listen to it with headphones, the instrumentation with like the little flutes in the background and like the bass going and stuff. It is so good. Listen to it on loop. I'll put a link in the description if you want to listen to what I've been listening to. It's phenomenal. And something about it, I'm like bebopping my way through whatever I'm doing. It's been fantastic. I was listening to it last week while I was brainstorming, and some of the brainstorm was like really kind of serious stuff with like some heavier topics, heavier themes. Meanwhile, in my brain, it's like dun, 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 and it's just a good time. So give it a try. See what you come up with in your own writing life. I'm going to get back to this and just try, doing some more bullet points. We might pull up the Price is Right theme song again because that definitely is it just does something in my brain. I don't know what it is. It's great though. It's great. All right, so back to this. One other thing I noticed on my read through that's very minor but is so stupid. I can't tell you how many of these chapters or scenes end with people like, and then they went to bed and fell asleep. It ends with people falling asleep, which like you can certainly have that sometimes, but I do it a lot, and this is something I've done literally since the very first book I ever tried to write 10 years ago. People are just falling asleep to end the scene. It's the end of the day, going to bed, falling asleep. And it's just, again, like you could have that once or twice and it wouldn't be an issue, but it's like more than once or twice. And one of the other potential problems with that is that it doesn't really push you into the next scene most of the time. It's very much like a cutoff, an easy place to put the book down. So I try not to, like when I'm doing the revisions, I'm trying not to end scenes with people just falling asleep. So yeah, check your manuscripts and see how often your scenes are ending with people just closing their eyes. It's not the most compelling end to a scene most of the time. Hello, good morning. It's the next day, and I think I'm kind of done with my little bullet point list over here. I kind of scanned through a few chapters, I don't know, added a few things. I've got a nice little list here. I don't know if you can really see how long it is. Some of these are big picture things, like literally one is just says, pinpoint the character arcs better. Great. And then others are a little more specific. I have a note about, people are falling asleep at the end of scenes every single time and, fix that. there's one character who I got his title wrong in like half of the scenes. I don't know what I was doing. So like it's really specific little fixes like that. So I think what I'm going to do right now is sort of organize this list of bullet points, because I was just like I wasn't putting them in any specific order. So I'm going to try to organize them so that like the super specific kind of smaller pieces are maybe in one section, and then bigger overarching things are in another section. I don't know. Just sort of clean it up so it's a little easier to look at. Some of these are like relatively easy fixes. Add more setting description. Great. Like I can just sort of do that. I don't need to make any more notes to myself about that. But other things like the character arc thing, that's going to require a little more in terms of like brainstorming, maybe sort of doing, I'm thinking I might want to do some kind of like, maybe not chapter by chapter, but just sort of, I don't know, pulling out like exactly where the character is on the character arc throughout the story. Chapters that are really important in the development. I don't know, something to clarify that a little more. So there's like work I need to do on that point, right? So let me organize these. The next step after that will maybe be brainstorming, like I said, some of these pieces that need a little more work. And then we'll go into each individual chapter, and I'll make notes on the side here. So in Scrivener, I have this set up so that I've got I have the split screen going. I have the notes, the bullet point notes on one side. I have a chapter pulled up on the other side. Then I have the inspector tool open, and there's a section in the inspector tool. It's just for notes. You can write whatever you want there. So I like putting a little bullet point list in that notes section, detailing like, here's what you need to do in every single chapter. That helps me a lot, because then when I go from chapter to chapter as I'm revising, I've got basically a checklist, a to-do checklist. Here's everything you need to do in this chapter to fix it up. Great. And then I can just cross them off as I complete them. And we all know I do love a checklist. So that's really good for me. So yeah, anyway, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves on that one, but let me go ahead and reorganize these just slightly and see where we can go from there. And obviously, all right, hello. It's quite some time later. It's mid-afternoon. What am I doing? I did my little reorganization, and I did a little bit of work to try to pinpoint like the character arc stuff a little better. I'm still kind of like, man, I don't know. I'm kind of bouncing around to different parts of this. I don't know. What I started a little while ago though is I'm going into each chapter and I'm reading through the chapter again. I'm not reading through it super thoroughly. I'm skimming a tiny bit, but for the most part I'm rereading it, and I'm just putting in bullet point things about what I think need to change. Some of them are more significant or more far-reaching than others. Some of them are very specific, like, you need to describe the setting. I'm not even writing that down, frankly, because I'm like, that's true for basically every scene. I'm on chapter 4 for now, and that's it. I'm just going to keep going through these chapters, and I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between the bullet point list I did for the overall notes to see, is there anything from those notes that I need to incorporate in that chapter in particular. So that's what I'm doing. It's quite tedious, but I really like having that little bullet point list on the side as I go back to revise, because like I said, it's just a nice little checklist for yourself, and then you're not having to bounce around to 10,000 different spots in the manuscript. I'm going to keep going with this, and we'll see how far I get by the end of the day.
Hi, you're being such a good girl. Hi.
this is still going incredibly hard. Good morning. It's the next day and I'm ready to get started, I guess. It's a little after 9. I have gotten myself ready. I've done some laundry. What else did I do? I don't know. I did things. So anyway, I have broken into Act 2 in terms of note taking. I'm taking a lot of notes. And yeah, I'm just trucking along. I don't really have a goal for today, I don't think, in terms of like what I want to get through. I should be able to get a pretty decent way through Act 2. So that's all I'm doing, just note taking. I am rereading these chapters maybe a little more thoroughly than I had anticipated. I think because it's new, like I haven't read them very much before. So it's kind of fun because now, like if I have to read through Rogue's Guide again, like I know exactly what's happening next. I know what the next chapter is. I know what the next 10 chapters are. Like, I know the whole story so well. But this one has just come into existence. And so when I'm reading through it, I'm like, ooh, now it's this. Or like, oh, this chapter. It's like I forget what's going to happen next. So that's kind of fun. It feels very good to work on something that is not Rogue's Guide. I will be totally honest with you. I love that book. I'm so excited for you to read it next year. But I also have been working on it for like almost 2.5 years now. I'm a little tired of it, you know what I mean? I've got the Price is Right ready to go, and I'm ready to get started with writing or like note taking. I'm not really writing yet, but so let's go ahead and get through some more chapters. Jade, hey, you gotta wake up, okay? You gotta come on down. All right, it is 12:30. I'm on chapter 19. I have still like 5 chapters left in Act 2. It'd be awesome if I could get through all of those today. Be half done by the end of the day. That'd be great. I have a live stream starting in half an hour, so I need to kind of get myself ready for that. Yeah, it's going good so far. There's nothing really. I'm just taking notes, so I'll keep going with that. So I set up this whole angle for the live stream and then I never actually like reached over to click record. I'm a professional vlogger. All right, so it's actually after dinner now. I worked on this all during the live stream. I worked on it a little bit afterwards. I had some other stuff to do. But I'm currently on chapter 28 out of 42 plus an epilogue. I am honestly actually almost halfway through Act 3, so it's going pretty good. I'm just going to spend the next couple days finishing this out, taking the little notes on each chapter, going back through the overall notes I did initially, seeing where I can fit stuff in, and just kind of making a to-do list for myself, frankly. But I think that's going to do it for this vlog, just because, I mean, again, I'm just taking notes, and especially as I get into these later chapters, I usually can't say, like, what I'm planning to change, because it would obviously be, you know, major spoilers. But what I'll try to do at some point in the next vlog is share at least some examples of the types of things I am noting, and what that looks like. So stay tuned for that. And then hopefully also in the next vlog, we'll actually be starting back in chapter 1 to actually do the changes that I've said need to be done. And I'm also sure in the next vlog, we will be making a checklist, because you know I love checking things off and working out how many days I have to do how many chapters and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that in the next vlog. But for now, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, you can click the subscribe button. I usually post videos on Fridays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.